became involved in this because I became interested in how trans personnel in the British Armed Forces after about 1945 were understood and how they were treated. And so I started to do some oral interviews, and then just by circumstance really I met up with Stephen, and we thought it would be a good project to work on for his photography. So that's how we've ended up here.
The working method for this was completely different from anything I'd ever really done, and it was a way of doing justice for the stories and for the participants really. So this was done as a completely collaborative project. So I reinterpreted Dr Vickers' research, which were based on oral testimonies and interviews, and then I would go and meet the participants, and I would only work within the parameters of that text, and we'd work collaboratively for days sometimes to sort of pick out certain parts, like reanalyse and give them a bit of ownership back of what they've handed over. So it was almost a way of presenting a piece of academic work in a different way.
We were looking for somewhere that explained the loneliness of what it was like being trans and not being able to tell anybody and being alone and unsupported. So he wanted this backdrop where there was nothing behind me. But also because I had a successful career as a trans person and served in the military for 16 years as a female officer. He wanted to show the success of that, which is why the jacket's there. So I'm holding up the jacket with my medals from Iraq and Afghanistan and places like that. So it combines the initial part of my life of being alone and unsupported to actually being supported and having a successful career.
The experiences are really varied. So you have Caroline, who was the first person to transition in the RAF in 1998, and then you have others who were forced to pay their way out in the 1980s, 1990s. So there's a kind of diversity of experience there which isn't expected to me.
They've really tried to dig under the skin of what makes people like me tick, and at the same time honour the sacrifice that my generation made, not just for our country, but in terms of the advancement of the cause of gender dysphoria.
It's in a great location, visible from the front door, and it's a nice, bright kind of environment for showing off these photos at their best, and they're amazing photos. They're all very, very different. And there's a lot of detail that you can read into them. Each one tells a story, and it's nice in some ways, because obviously Emma has the narrative, but it's nice to, in some ways, not to have that narrative next to the photo and just look at it and try and work out the story behind it.
I think it's extremely important that these stories are heard publicly, because although gender dysphoria is having a little bit of a moment right now, and it's reaching not quite a tipping point, but certainly more public awareness. There was a time, not so many years ago, when people like me really suffered just for our belief that we wanted to be me and our expression of our right for personal happiness. So I think it's important that we don't forget the sacrifice that my generation made to allow this generation to serve openly.
When I was serving in the Air Force, I had a difficult time to start with, especially when I was outed in the newspapers, and there was a lot of nasty comments and things made. But then I got some support, and what I found out was that people wanted to be understanding and tolerant, but they didn't understand trans. And so I set off to teach people, not teach them really, just to sort of enlighten them on what it meant to be trans. And that generated an awful lot of support, and I saw the military change because of that. So it was the understanding that led to the tolerance, and the tolerance that led to the support, and people just changed their minds. I literally saw people go from hostile to very supportive and good friends. And it was all through understanding and learning, and I think that's what part of this exhibition is all about as well. I'm always thinking that it is getting better and better and better, and society is getting better and better. There's still areas that obviously struggle to understand what it means to be trans, but it's all about understanding. Understanding it comes from education and learning, and that's what this exhibition is all about, so it's fantastic.